I now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:02 p.m. We will now take a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I want to remind board members to turn your mics on when you're speaking, and I will now ask the coordinator to call the roll.
Ms. Jackson?
Present.
Mr. Rollins?
Here.
Mr. Scrivano?
Here.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Here.
Dr. Harner?
Here.
Mr. Connor?
Here.
Mrs. Powers? With 6 present, 1 absent, we have a quorum.
We will now recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions of our students and staff, and Mr. Earl Dotson Jr. will be at the microphone.
Good evening, and thank you, sir. Rockford Public Schools were again well represented in recent state competitions. The Rockford Auburn Science Olympiad and the WISE, Worldwide Youth in Science and Engineering teams had a strong showing in recent state competition. The Science Olympiad team earned a 17th place among the 48 teams that competed in April. And WISE, the Worldwide Youth in Science and Engineering, placed 8th at state. And I believe we have a number of those individuals. I know Michelle is here this evening, but they are here this evening, so let's congratulate them and give them a round of applause for their accomplishment. WISE, Science Olympiad, there you go. Congratulations. Good job. Representing East High School, Josh Tibble went to the IHSA Boys State Track Meet, and Grace Batangalo went to the IHSA Girls State Track Meet. Are they with us this evening? Okay, they are not. Representing Auburn High School, Christian Lopez and Corey Tucker both competed in the Boys State Track Meet. Janelle Ferguson represented the Auburn Girls Track Team downstate at the meet. Are any of those individuals here this evening? All right, come on up. All right, all right. Again, shake again. At the middle school IESA State Track Meet, representing Flynn Middle School, Ethan Winterheimer and Haley McKiskey. Representing Eisenhower Middle School, Julian Haney, Grace McLaughlin, and Hannah Linhart. Representing Thurgood Marshall School, Adrian Gironi, who also took third place at state, and Gabrielle McCullen. and representing Kennedy Middle School, Takia Gaston Payton. Congratulations to all these students, the staff who have supported them, and to their friends and families. And I believe some of those individuals are here. Please come on up and be recognized. Thank you, sir. That is all.
Thank you, Earl. We are now at the petitions and communications portions of our meeting. When we invite the public to make comments, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees the rights of citizens to petition their government as well as provides for freedom of speech. Also, the Illinois School Code requires that there be a time at regular and special meetings for public comment. Thus, we are following those mandates during this petitions and communications portions of our agenda. According to Board Policy 2.230, the public comments portion of the meeting is limited to a total of 30 minutes. The board will not respond to comments at this time. If it is appropriate, you'll be contacted in a timely manner by staff in response to your questions. In order to allow sufficient time for the business of the board and to conduct our meeting in an efficient and effective manner, we are requesting that you comply with the guidelines that are posted, and each speaker will be allowed no more than 2 minutes to address the board. It is not appropriate to address individual board members or individual administrators or discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in such meetings. I will call 2 names, and the first person can come to the microphone, and the second one can come to the front and be ready. We have a clock on the wall to help you with your 2-minute timing. So our first speaker tonight is Allison Wang, to be followed by Dr. Clark Wang. Allison. You need to push that button to turn the microphone on. Thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, education equals opportunity. Unfortunately, last year, only 39% of students of the RPS 205 district met the minimum standards set by Illinois, placing this district in the bottom 10%. I know that everyone here wishes to improve upon this, and I applaud the board for trying to do so with their school improvement plans. However, I believe there is some slightly misguided information here. And why I say that? The Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation strongly advocate education. According to the research of the Gates Foundation, smaller schools are the better choice for impoverished students rather than larger schools. In New York City, Bill Gates created 67 small schools in the poorest areas using his own money to ensure that each and every one, including those without resources, has the equal opportunity to gain the right to help lift them out of hunger and poverty. Now, school sizes up to 1,000 do not matter for rich suburban areas, but please note that that is not the case for poorer areas. 79% of the RPS 205 district consists of low-income students, and 66% of students are either African American, Latino, or other minority groups. If we keep the same individual large classroom sizes the same and create even larger schools in poverty-stricken areas, such as around Kishwaukee and Nelson, student discipline and academic achievement will slip even more. I hope that the board will take my words of the importance of school sizes into consideration for the good of the community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Allison. Dr. Clark Wang, to be followed by Reverend Anthony Greer.
As we all know, Illinois is the most corrupt state in government spending. This school district spending is the most troubling. Last year, our superintendent gave his wife $13 million contract. Let me ask you, did President Obama give his wife $30 million government contract? The New York City Superintendent Joe Clan.
I'm sorry, you cannot address individuals, administrators, or individual board members.
I strike out the superintendent part, sorry. The New York City Superintendent Joe Clan gave his wife $30 million contract. By the way, Joe Clan's wife was a VP of a major corporation. The New York City Mayor Bloomberg gave his longtime companion $13 million contract. I remember the past 2 Illinois governors, before they went to jail, They all say it was legal. Both governors are lawyer too. I'm confused. That's why I'm here. We all know you keep saying it's legal. But ask yourself this. Is this the right thing to do? Is this the role model we want to set for our kids? Our administration is on the way to become the most corrupt in the modern American history.
And Reverend Anthony Greer.
Good evening. I'm here again to speak on behalf of the behavior of some of the unethical practices. I have sent out several emails, have not received but one response from one board member. I'm expecting to hear from my sub-district, District D representative immediately behind this. I cannot understand how you all passed for a head coach to become an athletic director / principal and be a head coach. Released several African-American administrators, one of them being an athletic director at Auburn High School, and replace in this nature and never give these people another job. Again, we're seeing recycled Caucasian staff being recycled despite their mistakes, but African-American males are being removed like garbage. You cannot tell me that you feel good about what's going on because our students are suffering behind not seeing people that look like them in the classroom. This disturbs me greatly. And what really disturbs me is I'm a taxpayer like you all are. And for you all to be in these positions and not respond to people, that is disrespectful. I've watched several times when I come down here. I'm a former employee of this district. I've seen how you all sit there and just do not show respect to other people by whispering and talking when people are talking, giving their conversation. That's disrespectful. But in the same breath, it's disrespectful to come and lie and say this district is diverse, and we're not diverse. Those few African Americans that have positions in these higher positions right now, those jobs are just temporary. Until you can get a good boy system going and get who you want in position, that person is just holding a spot. So I just advise all African-American staff to just be careful, be wise, because you're dealing with snakes. But this board needs to do better with diversity, hiring African-American staff, quit recycling the Caucasian staff, recycle the African-American staff, give them the same resources that you're giving the Caucasian administrators, and stop giving people double jobs where they can double dip. You tell me how can he hold that position at Auburn and be effective? Thank you.
Okay. We are now at the portion of the agenda for board member comments. Are there any board member comments? Ms. McCullough or Mr. Connor?
First of all, I want to thank the arts programs this year for doing a great job. Through the year, I've been saying about all the great progress, so I think the arts programs are doing great. And I will say this for the public record, that the state of Illinois dictates we have to take low bid. So I think that's a point that people really don't understand. But low bid means low bid, and even if somebody is not understanding that, that is the law of the state of Illinois.
Ms. McCullough.
I just wanted to give the board and community an update on the Facilities Task Force Steering Committee. We've had Friday, Wednesday, and this Wednesday we'll be meeting again, and then the following Wednesday. We spent the first meeting reviewing over 500 community comments that we received at all the forums across the district. And we took that, the committee did, and did an exercise to bring those into categories of areas that were of concern and consensus. And so, for example, some of the areas of concern that were identified were the deferred maintenance, whether or not there was support for new schools, what is the impact on neighborhoods, what is the location of specialty programs, school size, plans and programming, and there's a category called help us understand, meaning we need more information. Another one was transportation and distance. So those were then did a different exercise where those were divided into priority 1, 2, and 3 in terms of concerns and what were consensus items. And then having had a conversation about all those, we sent the architects and the facilities people back to the drawing board to relook at the maps and relook at some of the recommendations in plans A, B, and C. And then the next time we came back, we had further well, I apologize. So we had all those pieces. At our next meeting, we talked about each of those items, and based on those conversations, sent the district and the DLR back to the drawing board to bring us changes so that they could see that we were responding to some of the concerns that were addressed by the community and by other board members as well. And so the next time around, our third meeting, we're actually going to be looking at some alternative changes, and we'll be doing that probably for the next 2 weeks. Our original timeline was to try to bring a plan to the board June 24th. Depending on how the next couple of meetings go, we may or may not be at that point, but we're going to finish the process and as a committee, come to consensus on at least one plan to bring forward to the board. And I'm hoping very much the latest would be the meeting in July, but we'll just see how that goes. We certainly don't want to miss anything. We have an opportunity here, and we want to make sure we do it right.
Any other board member comments? Just like to personally thank all the board members and our administrative team for all the extra events that we participated in as a group in May with graduations and academic all-star events and all good positive things. So appreciate everyone's time and your employers' times for letting you get away from work for a little while for all of those things. So we are now at the consent portion of our agenda, including the following items. Consent items including meeting minutes from May 27th and May 20th. Of this year, payroll, accounts payable, purchase orders, contracts under $10,000, air travel, and the following bid recommendations, number 14-55, the nutrition services for groceries and supplies, and the 14-70 East High School auditorium renovations. Under other consent items, the Freedom of Information Act log. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Connor.
Second.
Second by Dr. Harner. Are there any consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, then I'll have the coordinator call the roll on the approval of the consent items.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
We are now at the closed session consent agenda items, including property acquisition at East High School. There are 3 of those. The appointment of Heather Novak as 10-month elementary principal, appointment of Renee Manduano as 10-month elementary school principal. I probably messed that pronunciation. Manduhando. Okay. Appointment of Stephanie Hess as 10-month middle school assistant principal. Appointment of Jennifer Curlis as 10-month middle school assistant principal. Appointment of Gregory Hodges as 10-month assistant principal. Appointment of John Cusimano as a 10-month assistant principal. Compensation for 11-month elementary principals and market salary adjustments. The EDRI invitation for Dr. Jarrett. Salary and position correction for the Executive Director of Talent Development, and the HR organizational report addendum. And the following closed session consent items related to student discipline, in which these listed students are prohibited from being on school grounds and school-sponsored activities without the prior written permission of the principal, and the suspensions are affirmed. The following students are expelled for the remainder of the first semester of 2014 and 2015 school year. STL2, JTA3. The following students are expelled for the remainder of the entire 2014-15 school year. FR1 and YSB5. The expulsion for the following student is held in abeyance contingent upon a CPA through the first semester of next year. That's student ERP 18. The 10-day suspensions are upheld for the following students, and the expulsions are held in abeyance for the entire 2014-15 school year, contingent upon a CPA agreement for students JSC 4, NEP 16, and APY 17, and the following students have been granted a conditional probation agreement: KMS 6, TJS 7, NAW 9, LTR 10, NIM 12, MJK 13, MDK 14, and CJJ 15. Is there a motion and a second to approve the closed session consent items?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Connor,
Second.
second by Dr. Harner. Are there any items that board members would like to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Jackson?
10 and 11.
Okay. 10 and 11. All of 10? Okay. And 11. Okay. So I'll have the coordinator call the roll on the items not pulled.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
You want 10 done all as one group, Ms. Jackson? Okay, good, okay. I'll now take a motion and a second to approve items listed under 10 closed session consent items.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Connor. Second by Ms. McCulloch. Any discussion? Okay, I'll have the coordinator call the roll then on the approval of items listed under 10.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
I'll take a motion for the student discipline items listed under 11.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Connor.
Second.
Second by Dr. Harner. There is no discussion. I'll have the coordinator call the roll on the approval of the student discipline items listed under number 11.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Our next agenda item is the superintendent's report, and Deputy Superintendent Matt Bosberg is presenting that report, and Dr. Jarrett's absent tonight. So, Matt?
Thank you, President Scrivano. Yesterday was the last day of the 2013-2014 school year, a year that we remember for many things, including the extreme weather events. Let's hope that was an anomaly and we're not seeing polar bears instead of black bears in the near future. So seriously, though, I'd like to thank all of our teachers and staff members that are retiring for further service from our community. I'd also like to congratulate the class of 2014 and their families on their achievements. Data shows that a little more than 60% of our graduates will enroll in college. I want to encourage those that are leaving the area to attend college to return to Rockford when you graduate and become a part of our community. The state of Illinois is amongst the highest in the country in exporting high school graduates, and that's not good for our state or our community. We want our best and brightest to return to our community and become prominent members of our community. For the rest of our students that will be returning to our schools next year, I want to encourage you to be active learners this summer. We are training you for the game of life, and we really don't think that shutting it down entirely for 3 months is a very good strategy for that preparation. One easy thing that our students can do is join the Summer Reading Club through the Rockford Public Library. By participating in the Summer Reading Club, not only will you be able to continue building your literacy skills, you have an opportunity to earn many prizes from the library. After you read just 5 books, you can get prizes such as kids' meals, ice cream, donuts, and discounts from area restaurants like Culver's, Pizza Hut, Dandy Donuts, Jersey Mike's, Beefaroo, Granite City, Jason's Deli, gift cards from Walmart and Target as well. Those that are finishing the program and labeled as such, finishers, will also be available to receive prizes, including an invitation to the finishers party, which is a free pass to Magic Waters. Finally, there's a drawing for one student to earn a limo ride for 5 of their friends to go out to dinner and to go out to eat at Red Robin and also attend a movie at Showplace 16. This is a great opportunity, a great partnership with our school district. Last year, a student from RISA was the grand prize winner. There were a total of about 11,000 students that participated last year and about 6,500 finishers. So let's do our best to beat those numbers and have a great summer. Thank you, President Scrivano.
Okay, we are now at the Education Committee report. Ms. McCullough.
The Education Committee met in this room on June 2nd. We had a pretty full agenda. Most were updates, and so I'd just like to give you a couple summaries. One of the first updates we had was on the empowerment zones. For those of you who aren't aware, the district has identified what we call empowerment zone schools, which are schools identified with the highest poverty rates and the lowest achievement levels. This past year we had 9 schools. Just for everybody's edification, they're Haskell, Kishwaukee, King, Ellis, Nelson, McIntosh, Beyer, Lewis Lemon, and Walker. What we did as a district was to provide additional resources to those schools in the way of a behavior intervention specialist in each school. 4 of the schools, Beyer, Ellis, Haskell, and Walker, were given additional math coaches. And we're in the process as well of working with Haskell to restore to a true year-round school. Of those 4 schools that had the math coaches, we saw an increase in the growth of those students in math. It was in Beyer, Ellis, and Haskell. All grades scored higher on their math over last year. So that was the growth component. Walker had 3 grades that scored higher than last year. Beyer had 3 grades score higher than the district average. Haskell and Walker, 2 grades scored higher than the district average. And at Ellis, 1 grade scored higher than the district average. So we're excited to see the outcomes. There are going to be some changes in the coming year. As I said, we're going to be supporting Haskell as a year-round school by adding additional days. And that's 8 additional school days. And those are intercession days as well as 2 summer school periods. So there won't be the gaps, because currently our Haskell year-round program has acted more as just a different calendar as compared to a true year-round program. So we're committed to supporting it in the way a year-round program is meant to be. So that was everybody was very positive about that report. And we're expanding the number of schools in the empowerment zone next year, correct? Ms. Jacobson?
We're not expanding the schools in the zones, but we are expanding the behavior intervention specialists.
Okay, thank you for that edification. The next report was an update on the high school academies. We had a textbook adoption that we're going to see later in the under action items. The next item on our agenda that we're updated on was the high school academies. This year at Jefferson, all the students are in academies. Roosevelt, all students are in modified academies. And at Auburn East and Guilford, we started a freshman academy. And next year, all the high school students will be in academies at all of our high schools. One of the things that Mr. Carson spoke to the committee about that they were pretty excited is they were worried because we had these 4 academies at all the schools. We do have a 5th at Auburn to accommodate the Renaissance and Kappa program, but that there would be a good distribution of students at all of the academies. And I know people can't really see it, but they did end up with pretty much quartile. And these reports, all of these reports and updates are on board docs. If you go under the library tab and under the committee meeting for June 2nd, you can take a look and see the full report. We are working toward, obviously, highly effective teams with continuous improvement. and talking about what exactly is involved in having college and career readiness, what those benchmarks would look like. There's a capstone project that was discussed, and that's also outlined in these documents. So we're moving forward with those academies and have a nice distribution. And I'm going to be talking in a few minutes about the virtual school update. One of the things about that virtual school is going to be able to help support those academies, because each of the 4 academies have numerous pathways in them. And while the district would love to be able to offer courses for what they call the TWIGs, the outlying classes that support those pathways, we wouldn't have a core group of students to do so. So when we get to virtual, we can see how we can utilize that program to support those academies. The next report was on the school improvement planning process, and that also was an update. All the Title I schools that we have who failed to meet the AYP, which is adequate yearly progress, are required to complete a school improvement plan using the Rising Star Continuous Improvement Process platform. If those of you remember, the No Child Left Behind put us at, to make adequate yearly progress, the target in 2013 was 92.5%, and in 2014 it's 100%. The state of Illinois has received exemption. We will no longer be using the the yearly progress measure as an index. What we'll be going to is a multi-measure index, and the state has not decided what those items would be, but for some examples of what would be included would be the growth, and I just spoke about growth a moment ago with regard to our empowerment zone schools. And we talk about growth, we talk about testing students and seeing how much their academic achievement has changed in certain areas, literacy, numeracy, over the course of we look at it over the course of shorter periods during the year, but for the full year is what I was talking about with the empowerment zones. So that will become a measurement if that is something the state chooses. Other things that they might include in their index would be course offerings and extracurricular activities. So we still have school improvement plans for our schools that will be done for this next year, but it will be based a little bit differently than we are currently. Our virtual learning update was given to us. We have a policy, the district does, on the remote education program, and we have the means, according to our resources, to create a virtual academy, but currently what we have is a whole system of virtual offerings. Different schools are all going through different programs instead of all the district. And you probably are aware that the middle school, we're looking at trying to have a middle school model across the district. This is very similar in that we'd like to have a remote learning program that's consistent across the district. So what we will be doing, we will expand our offerings through only 2 systems. One is the Illinois Virtual School, and the other is the Florida Virtual School. And that will provide an academy that allows us to serve students and hopefully attract new students. One of the groups of students that they'd like to attract are the homeschool students who do a lot of virtual learning, as well as working with, we've got homebound students. We have quite a community of students who can utilize these services. The difference between those 2 programs, the Illinois Virtual School is $190 a course and $70 for credit recovery, whereas Florida Virtual School is $400 a course. There are some other differences in terms of when they have to be taken. The Illinois school has to be done over the course of the school year, whereas Florida allows a little bit more open-ended timelines. The district's focus is going to be on credit recovery in the coming year, as well as AP courses and working with homeschoolers. From there, we're going to try to build out to support, as I said a moment ago, the Academy TWIGs with additional classes available for students in academies that we are not offering in the district. We had another course book adoption that will be coming forward to us tonight, and We have dates for our future meetings, and the next one is Monday, July 7th, in this room at 5:30. That ends my report.
Thank you. Mr. Rollins, Operations.
Thank you. The Operations Committee met in this room on Tuesday, June 3rd at 5:30 p.m., had a fairly short agenda of just sort of informational discussion items. We talked about our progress in creating sort of a maintenance capital refreshment plan for our facilities. Mr. Schmidt and his staff are working on that, sort of a schedule for continually refreshing our facilities. And he indicated that they'd be ready to bring a rough draft back to us by July, which is a month from now. I don't know if he was really a month from now. Okay. We talked about contract management administration, what the district is currently doing, some of the gaps in what it's currently doing in contract administration. Right now, Mr. Lewis, I think, was taking the lead on this. They're currently doing some process mapping, sort of to identify ways that we could improve and maybe some recommendations for improvement, what they can do on that. And again, they're in the process of looking at that, and they're going to bring that back in late September or early October. And then the only other thing on the agenda was just an update on the facilities master plan from Mr. Schmidt as far as what was going on this summer. I don't know, Mr. Schmidt, do you want to give just a brief overview of what's going on this summer?
We have a lot of work going on. Mr. Bailey's out there too. I think we got about 40 some odd $1 million in work right now. We started with obviously the east addition there with the field house, the cafeteria, multi-purpose room, ADA accommodations with an elevator, parking lot. That just started. We started the renovations over at Jefferson with the secure front entrance, the auditorium, and the triangle area along with the gymnasium. We started with the auditorium renovations at at Guilford and East, along with the cafeteria or the library renovations at Auburn, East, and Guilford. We're doing that in-house. We're working on the academy build-outs that we have going on. We're finishing up the field houses at Auburn and Guilford, along with the health center over at Auburn. East is getting the boilers replaced, the 1940-some-odd boilers. We're working with Auburn and Guilford to get the univent replacements in each of the individual classrooms with individual controls for temperature controls. Window replacement, it will also happen at Auburn and Guilford throughout the whole building, along with new window blinds in there. We have paving projects going on at Jefferson, Roosevelt, Johnson, and Conklin this summer. We also have ShareFest that we're working on over at Roosevelt. So those are just some of the big projects that we have going on right now. A lot of small ones.
There's actually one data point that I wanted to share that we talked about at the committee level in connection with the maintenance plan and capital refreshment plan. One of the items that Mr. Schmidt had shared with us is an analysis of average open days for work orders in various categories: carpentry, HVAC, electricians, painters. So back in 2010, our average number of days for an open work order for carpentry was over 200 days. So if you were like a teacher or a principal and had a work order for your building, it took, on average, it took over 200 days to get that completed. We have that down to in the single digits now. Back in 2010, the average open work order for HVAC was 80 days. If you had a HVAC problem in your building, it took over 80 days to get that resolved. And again, that's down, I think, under single digits or low 10 digits. Electricians, same thing, 150 days average in 2010. Again, it's down to almost nothing. And the same for painters. So, and that's, by the way, even though the number of open work orders or the open work order requests has continued to be steady or even gone up. So we're getting more work order requests in, but the average time to fill them has gone significantly down. And the way we've done that is we've added staff. We've added about 10 staff members in those trades over the past couple of years, and that's the way we've been able to do that. So it's just something to keep in mind. Our next Operations Committee meeting will be in this room on Tuesday, July 1st at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. We are now at the action items portion of our agenda. Our first action item is the middle school science textbook adoption that went through Ed Committee and was presented by Dr. Laura Jeringen, and so I'll take a motion. And a second to approve.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Ms. McCulloch, did you? Oh.
I just remind that the committee vetted the process that we went through, or that the district went through to determine this was the appropriate book, and also that when she came back to us as a board, she had found another $80,000 savings. So, and there was unanimous support for bringing it forward to the board.
Mr. Connor?
I have the same comment for both Dr. Jerrigan and Mr. Nilsson. They did a good job explaining how we'll leverage electronic versions and extensions on the textbooks. So I thought they both did a good job, and I feel very confident that not only are we spending less, which is good from both, but we'll be able to leverage these textbooks and in a much more comprehensive way over time. So good work to both groups.
Thank you. I'll have the coordinator call the roll on the first action item, approval of middle school science textbook.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you. I'll now take a motion and a second to approve the high school social studies textbook adoption. Again, this was, went through Education Committee, so.
So moved.
Mr. Connor moves.
Second.
By Mr. Rollins. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll have the coordinator call the roll on our second agenda item, high school social studies textbook.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you. Our third action item tonight is the College Board Consulting Agreement that was presented by Ms. Michelle Beach at our previous meeting. Is there a motion and a second to approve that?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Connor.
Second.
Second by Ms. McCulloch. Any questions or discussion?
Is
Ms.
Mrs.
Jackson.
Beach here? Could you provide just a little bit of background on this?
This is the third year I've been involved in bringing College Board trainings to the Rockford Public Schools. In the past 2 years, it's been part of a requirement for an advanced placement grant that we get from the state. The idea is to build teacher capacity. So in our first year, we tried to provide a number of workshops for both teachers and administrators in all the different content areas. Last year, we did 4 workshops each in the core content areas. And this year, what we would like to do is have what they refer to in the College Board as vertical team workshops. So our proposal is that we have 1 in English, 1 in math, 1 in science, and 1 in social studies. And the point of this is to provide training for teachers in grades 6 through 12, now that we are hoping to have all students graduate with either a dual credit or an advanced placement experience, in other words, a college level experience while still in high school. The students need to be prepared for that rigor. A lot of times when students enter their junior year frequently into an AP class, the pace of that class, the reading requirements of that class, and the content knowledge that is needed to be successful in those classes and pass the exam, which is how they get credit in college, the students are not prepared. And so the AP teachers spend a lot of those first weeks of school building some of those foundational skills. Well, we want to start seeing that happen for all students at grade 6. And so these workshops are trainings, but they're also a time for dialogue in terms of what do kids need to do at those different levels in order to be prepared for AP.
Any other questions? If not, I will have the coordinator call the roll on the approval of the College Board Consulting Agreement.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Our fourth action item tonight is the Crusader Community Health Auburn Campus School-Based Health Center Site License Agreement. This has been presented by Mrs. Mary Fisher. I'll take a motion and a second to approve the site agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Connor,
Second.
second by Dr. Harner. Any questions or discussion? Ms. McCullough.
I just would like to say that I've had the privilege of sitting on the committee for the last years. They've developed all the aspects of this health center. Crusader Clinic has really put forth a very professional process to get to this point. And it's a real win for the district to be able to work with this organization, as well as all the other components of the medical community that they're bringing into our system. They have dental, they have vision, mental health, so it's not just medical, and it's really in the best interest of, we're hoping that it really serves the needs of our students so that we can help increase their attendance and really make it easier for their families to access some medical intervention.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Now I'll have the coordinator call the roll on the approval of the site license agreement for Crusader Community Health's School-Based Health Center.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Okay, our next agenda item is the Mutual of Omaha proposal approval. This was presented by Mrs. Lori Gassaway at our last meeting, so I'll take a motion and a second to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rollins. Any questions or discussions? Seeing none, I'll have the coordinator call the roll on the approval of Mutual of Omaha proposal.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Our final action items are the 5 life safety amendments for the following schools that was presented by Mr. Schmidt. This is for Flynn, West Washington, Lincoln, and Kennedy. I'll take a motion and a second to approve the 5 life safety amendments.
So moved.
Moved by Mr.
Second.
Connor. Second by Mr. Rollins. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll have the coordinator call the roll on the approval of the 5 life safety amendments.
Mr. Scrivano?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Dr. Harner?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Thank you. We are now on to new and other business. Our first item tonight is Mr. Carson, who will be presenting career and technical education textbook adoption.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I bring before you a proposal for the adoption of some textbooks for some new career technical education courses we'll be offering beginning in the fall. The new courses are Education and Child Care Careers, our Healthcare Technology and Communications course, and then the other adoptions are for courses that we've been previously offering, one for which we had a pilot of textbooks this previous school year during the 13-14 school year, and Accounting 2, which we have not previously run sections this previous year, but we will in the following year at Auburn High School. So based on the approval of these courses in the process of creating the high school planning guide, we then sought samples of textbooks to provide to the teachers to begin reviewing as they develop the curriculum. We brought in community consultants, in essence, from local industry and healthcare and education to work with the teachers to review the curriculum and to review the potential adoption materials that they were reviewing. And then met collaboratively as in small teams to make a decision, and that's the proposal that I'm now bringing forward for you. And again, these would be adopted for the upcoming school year, and these would be purchased this summer out of funds that are budgeted in the fiscal 15-year proposal. And again, they will go into effect and into use in the fall in the schools where those courses are being offered. So at this time, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
I'm going to go over the cost figure.
Absolutely. So the cost for the purchase of all of the materials, some of these are for the expansion of courses as well that have been already approved. The total cost is $101,902.87.
Ms. McCullough.
Did come to Ed Committee. We had conversation, and it was moved forward unanimously to the board for a vote.
Any other questions or discussion? Not, this will be presented at our June 24th board meeting for a vote. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Carson.
you.
Our second item tonight, Mr. Tyler Fagan, who will be presenting the health and exercise science text.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight I'm bringing forth a request for new health textbooks and resources for both middle school and high school, along with textbooks and resources for the exercise science class, which will be one of our academy and pathway options in the health science academies at 3 of our high schools. We invited teachers to be a part of the adoption process. We brought materials in from multiple vendors. The teachers had the opportunity to look at not only the physical products and textbooks, but they had an option to look at and log into the online versions of all the manufacturers' options. The decision was made to move forward at the middle school level with the green level materials from Holt, and those are looking at a cost of approximately $47,513.63. That would be a classroom set of textbooks. Some buildings wanted to have additional sets that they could let students check out if needed. The high school decision was made to move to an OER model, which is an open educational resource. So in a sense, the teachers will be compiling the resources into their version of a quote-unquote textbook, and that material will be delivered to the students via a printed workbook that will be created and manufactured in our print shop. The exercise science course for both exercise science 1, 2, and 3 will be purchased from ACE Fitness. That will be the certification that we will be preparing the students for and the exam that they will be prepared to take upon completion of the exercise science courses to get them certified as both personal trainers and group exercise instructors. So they have workbook, they have practice exams, and they have textbooks to support the classway along the way. So the total cost for all 3 of the courses, middle school, high school, health, and exercise science 1 through 3, is approximately $96,000.
Ms. McCullough.
So this did come to Education Committee, and one of the burning questions was about the OER and the proprietary nature of some of the information, since we would be picking it up off the internet and printing it ourselves. So if you would speak to that, please.
Absolutely. The way that open educational resource models work is that the material, when it's created, typically becomes public domain. So there are resources and frameworks that exist out there that we could use as a template. The bulk of the work would be created by the teachers. We've started this work previously in terms of compiling resources that the teachers are using in their classes so that they have additional options to pull from and they're not reliant entirely on the textbook. And that was one of the factors in not renewing or repurchasing textbooks, is so that the teachers could have direct input and control over what they were using, and most of them were only relying on the textbook as a minimal outside resource. And so the OER model will let the teachers collaborate a little more. Most of them at the high school level are singletons, where they maybe only have a 0.2 or a 0.4 additional health course there. So this will foster collaboration and allow us to bring kind of the ever-changing field of health and some of the science-related materials to the students on an annual basis.
And there was some conversation about the expense involved in teacher collaboration time. So even though, and that is not included in that $96,000, right? Weren't there stipends for them to come together and put together the resources?
That's correct. That's accounted for in budget elsewhere through professional development, curriculum design.
I mean, the committee did move it forward, but figured that the full board would have some questions because this is certainly a different model than we have used previously for our textbooks.
Mr. Connor.
A couple questions. Number one, did I hear you correctly about the certification? Is that for all students, or is that like an optional certification?
So the exercise science course is a pathway course that the students can elect to take as part of their academy through health sciences. And that course is geared towards students that are looking for a certification option in the health and wellness pathway. And so we looked at both the National Strength and Conditioning Organization and the ACE Fitness, and based on the materials, the teachers that will be running the class decided that the ACE Fitness was at a little bit better level for the students. It wasn't quite as deep in anatomy and physiology, biomechanics, and the pure exercise science. So they thought it was more relatable to the students. And the 3-year sequence of exercise science is designed so that when those students either turn 18 at some point in their junior or senior year, or upon completion of their senior year, they can sit for both of ACE Fitness's certification exams and become certified.
And are those the standards that would be used, say, by the local fitness clubs, so that their personal trainers have that same fitness certification?
ACE is probably the largest organization that certifies both personal trainers and group exercise instructors. In talking with the head personal trainer at Peak, Fit Me Wellness, the YMCA, they're aware of the fact that a certification is simply a minimum requirement. And so along the way between Exercise Science 1 and 3, we're going to look to build in partnerships, opportunities, both intern and externships, where the students can develop the soft skills and the real life application of what they're learning through the course and what's going to be assessed on the certification exams.
So is it your assessment that if a student graduates with this certification, that essentially they would have be a step ahead of someone else in terms of jobs? That
I would like to think so. It's the ultimate goal is to get these students an opportunity for a job. If they end up being college bound and they're going to pursue anything, this could be a part-time job. They could work at their campus rec center. And so we want to make sure that, A, they're qualified to get the certification, but we know that that's only part of it. We want to make sure that they have those additional skills so that they can perform assessments, they can build programs, they can teach techniques the right way and make sure that the people they're training are safe and that their programs are effective and able to be implemented so that they can be hired.
So if you're ACE certified, is that a national standard? So if you're here in Illinois and you go to Texas or wherever, you have a good chance of that being recognized?
Absolutely. That's
okay.
Certifications recognized worldwide.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or discussion? Not this, again, we'll come to our board for approval on the meeting on June 24th.
Thank you, everyone.
Our final agenda item tonight is from Rockford Marlins, Rockford Public School Partnership, Matt Vosberg and Matt Parker. Mr. Parker.
Good evening. I'm here to present the partnership proposed agreement between the Rockford Public Schools and the Rockford Marlins. Prior to doing so, I want to acknowledge two of the Rockford Marlins board members are here, Board President Cacciatore and Board Member John Rosauer, and also Auburn's head swim coach for both boys and girls, Coach Bullard. So thanks for coming tonight. They're here to support this agreement. The agreement's aimed to develop Rockford Public School youth swimming by providing training, coaching clinics, operation of the all-city swim meet, disadvantaged swim assistance programs, physical education swim curriculum, and advanced high school training and coaches support. The partnership aligns with 3 of the Readiness Rocks, including College for All, College and Career Readiness, and 21st Century Learning Environments. The recommendation is consistent with providing the best programming for all students, and also consistent with Board Policy 8.20, Community Relations, Community Use of School Facilities. The agreement in-kind service exchange amount, in-kind services provided by the Rockford Marlins Swim Club would amount to just over $100,000, and in-kind services provided by Rockford Public Schools for facility use was just over $40,000. This agreement would be effective July 1st, 2014 for a 1-year period and shall automatically renew for 4 subsequent periods of the same length as the initial term unless either party gives other written notice of termination at least 30 days prior to expiration of then current term. At this time, I'll entertain any questions that the board may have.
Questions from Mr. Parker. Ms. McCulloch.
So the determination as to what the fair market value of the in-kind contributions, I would ask the district attorney, how is that determined?
In accordance with the board policy. So it was Mr. Schmidt's group that has set the rates in accordance with the policy based on the actual costs of the operating the facilities.
Right, that's what they would owe us, but to determine what the items that they're providing in kind, running the swim meets, which they run forever, but some of the other items as well, assisting our district coaches, helping to develop a swim program, providing opportunities for students. How is it we're putting a price on all of those items? And will there be, let me ask you that, and then I'll ask the other one.
That would be Mr. Parker's area to respond to.
Thank you, Ms. Soldi. Those rates were based on fair market value for the area and the far outlying suburbs for similar organizations and what they provide.
We have other people doing that in the area here that we can compare to for market rate?
Other club swim teams that are providing
those
stroke
kind of
clinics,
services
coaching
too.
clinics. Yeah, we do. We have at least 2 other clubs in the immediate area, and then many clubs in the suburbs.
Great. Although I don't think the suburbs are a comparison to Rockford, as long as you're comparing to what's in the area. Then my second question is, so if you offer a clinic but nobody comes, or you offer something to students and you don't have participation, do they still receive the same in-kind contribution? I mean, is it still considered? Because it was offered, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I'm just making sure. So we will, and we don't vote on this tonight, but will we see a report prior to bringing this back? I know it would be a recurring contract, but, at the end of the year to see how everything falls out, or we'll come to Ops Committee maybe, hopefully?
Part of the agreement does include a reporting mechanism.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the contract. Mr. I had a question about the energy thing. Mr. Rollins.
This is just a good sort of follow-up to the discussion we had at the Ops Committee about contract administration. So, an answer, or not answer, but follow-up to Mrs. McCulloch's question, I don't know that this would come back, because this is actually has what lawyers call an evergreen provision, where just automatically renews unless either party gives notice to the other of termination at least 30 days prior to the expiration of the then current term. Which means, somebody in the district has to be responsible for diarying this for 30 days before the expiration of the term. And I've just got a sort of a practical question. Who's the owner of this contract internally? I mean, who's going to diary this? Who's going to see what it is that's been done over the past year? Who's going to make sure all of this gets done? Who's responsible for all of that internally? So who's that going to be?
That would be me.
Okay. So you're the one who's going to be responsible for making sure that this all gets done and deciding whether or not 30 days before the expiration, whether or not to send the written notice.
Correct. We've already received written records from the Marlins for all the activities that have occurred this year, including installing starting blocks, improving our facilities. They've been very good at providing and updating spreadsheets of that information, and I'm confident that this next year they'll do the same thing so that we can adequately assess if this is a positive program and continues to be a positive program for our students.
And then I just had what's purely a lawyer comment. So you can terminate this by providing written notice at least 30 days prior, but there's no notice provision saying how you give notice. So somebody might want to look at actually adding a notice provision to this saying, here's how you provide notice. Where is it? Oh, we could talk offline.
Mr. Connor.
As I understand it, what you were saying is there's a reporting clause in here. So the numbers you were talking about on the spreadsheet, is it your intention to essentially put that as part of a board update that says here's participation levels for all the events, that kind of thing that comes out of the contract?
I'd be more than happy to provide a board update. This would be May of next year.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then just out of curiosity, do you have any idea roughly how many students you would anticipate would participate in the program?
I'll defer to Mr. Cacciatore or Coach Bullard.
How many RPS?
Come on up and speak in the microphone. That way Channel 20 can.
So as far as participation goes, for the middle school clinics, we'll just take those for one. Each middle school right now is slotted. We've already got 2 scheduled for the fall. Right now I've got it slotted for 45 students, okay, for each of the middle school clinics. We anticipate on the economically disadvantaged program, right now we're looking at 12. We've got 4 enrolled right now that are directly from RPS. For the high school prep program in the summer, and Dennis can talk to this, we have got it blocked. I can take up to 30, 35 students, maybe even a little more, depending on how many we get. Right now we've got 8 who are signed up. Interestingly enough, the brochures for the high school prep for a lot of these clinics are all funneled through Matt. He sends, through Matt Parker, he sends them out to the athletic directors. And one of the hardest things that we've got is getting the information down to the students, because it seems to, I know it goes through him and I know it goes, so it's not getting down to the students. And I know I've been talking with Dennis. Coincidentally, we've got 8 girls signed up for the high school prep program that's going to take place. It's a girls and boys high school prep program. Right now we've got 8. I think they're all girls and they're all from Auburn. Okay, why? Because obviously he's working more closely with us than the other coaches are. So there's some of that aspect that's at play. We've gotten very good support over the last year from Flynn Middle School. We're also working very closely with Todd Schmidt for Eisenhower for the all-city meet, and also with one of our coaches was actually helped in the coaching of the Marshall Middle School team over the last season. So it's a slow process. It's not moving as fast as we'd like it to. Obviously, we want to see more kids in the water. One of the other things we had was the transition, obviously, into a new pool. Anytime you make a transition, you have to start building that base again. And we're starting to see that come through in the Flint. Dennis, I know you can talk to some of the benefits from the coaching or in the swimming aspect.
Just everything Anthony has said. I've got 8 swimmers coming in, and I have 3 swimmers with the Marlins swimming right now. And I anticipate for the fall, I'll probably have at least, I'm hoping for another 8 to 12 boys swimming in the fall to get ready for the high school season. Did you want to talk at all about the all-city meet?
Yeah, I'm not sure of how familiar you are with the all-city meet. I think, by all accounts, I think it was well-received this year. We basically ran it was an all-day meet. We ran 2 sessions out of Jefferson. I think it was it boys in the morning, girls in the afternoon. We were able to get a closed-circuit feed at Jefferson, and we had approximately 350 to 400 swimmers from across the middle schools. Some of those have shown an interest of continuing on. So, again, our goal is to work not only with RPS but other clubs in the in the area, really to try and advance swimming back to where it was at one point in time. If you remember the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, this was the powerhouse for swimming. Unfortunately, it's moved to the suburbs and it's moved down to Bloomington. But we're confident, that in a partnership we can get it back to where it needs to be.
Ms. McCullough.
Thanks for stepping up. I have a couple questions here. How many years have you guys been doing the All-City Swim Meet? Because Marlins have been doing that for us for...
As long as I've been with the team.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've been the president for a year, and, although I've been with the team for 10 years, as long as I can remember,
Well, I think... Okay, so it just shows a real commitment to the...
I've been involved for over 5.
To the district.
My son swims with Auburn. He swam at the middle school, and I've helped coach for the last 5 years. So that's kind of my advantage, too. I know what I have coming up through the program. I still stay in touch with the
Well, we appreciate that. The high school, you said 3 girls are at Auburn who are already swimming for the Marlins?
1 girl and 1 boy, and there's...
Oh, I apologize,
and then there's
on the gender piece.
8th grader swimming that'll be coming to Auburn.
So the 8 that are coming to your clinic, are there any of those still are already Marlins? Do they already belong to the Marlins?
No, those are all...
So that's the important information, is the fact that you're bringing new people in. It's not that crossover piece. So, and the Marlins itself, your organization, your club, the students that you have on there, what percentage would you say attend RPS 205?
I really don't. I don't know. I'll be honest with you.
Because that would be a benchmark too, to see, how that growth might be impacted if you're bringing new people in, not just with our teams that are in the schools, but the other way. And the last question, I do think this is appropriate, and thank you very much for Ms. Hoadley. I'm sorry, Matt, I didn't mean to supersede, but it's a contract question, and is there a way to put some sort of clause in the contract to make sure that we have a report prior to, and a vote to continue this contract? And I ask this in part because this is a year from now. We have elections next April. It might be 3 different people sitting up here, and so they won't have been privy to the whole conversation about we're going to bring this forward to you. And so to memorialize it in the contract would be something that I would be interested in as a board member.
I have a question for Matt. Just in looking at the payment in verbiage in the contract, it says, the district may assess additional fees for energy charges, kitchen services, which is misspelled in the contract, water charges, garbage collection, or additional cleanup. So who makes that decision? Is that Mr. Schmidt's department? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Schmidt's department, facilities, and the Marlins have agreed to pay those additional fees as well as to maintain Flynn Middle School pool open throughout the summer, pay in full.
Okay. Mr. Connor, do you have a question?
I guess the only thing that I'd suggest is that, because I think, I do actually remember back when swimming was a powerhouse in Rockford, so of course I'd like to see that again. I think the one question I'd have is if we would have something that might be visual so we could see sort of the direction, how you intend to reach out, because if I hear the issue about reaching out to the buildings and all that, I could well understand. There's a lot of things going on. I think also just how it would be put in, say, with regular physical fitness, because I know Mr. Fagan has really gone out there to say that the whole purpose of PE is as fitness-based, and of course, swimming is well-known as good fitness-based. So I think maybe some notion before the contract comes up, it can be short about the direction and how some of these things would be accomplished, I think would help position this.
Any other questions? Ms. Jackson?
Yes, what is the non-practice use of our facilities? What will you be using it for?
Ms. Holdley says she can answer that question.
There are two portions to the agreement. One addresses the summer practice schedule, and the other would be, for example, the section that deals with competitions or other uses. So the standard practices are covered and they are paying in full. The other uses would be the in-kind contributions.
So they would be using the facilities for their professional swim meets or something like, is that what I'm understanding?
I believe there's one meet, USA Swimming. USA Swimming that the Marlins are bringing into town, a very prestigious event where they would pay in full to provide that swim meet.
Did you say they would pay in full to provide it?
Is that correct, Attorney Holdley?
That's one of the in-kind uses of the facilities.
So how much would it be if they paid in full?
$43 an hour? $53 an hour?
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, thank you. This will come to the board for a vote on our June 24th meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any new business items or agenda recommendations for this evening? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Pose same sign. We are adjourned at 8:19.